Welcome to the Blooming League of Original Podcast.
G'day and welcome to an extra wild after-party edition of Thrush and Treasure, the Torture Chamber musical comedy podcast that's the audio equivalent of a cheese grate full of dad jokes. And speaking of grateful, thank you so much for listening. That's really good of you. I'm Aaron, and I'm joined as usual by the metal man who thinks he so edgy and tough, but really he's the Tin Man after getting his heart. From all the way over the other side of the rainbow, he's Evan the Tin Man. How you doing?
The Tin Man.
But if you are the Tin Man, that must make me Dorothy because I'm the main bitch. Anyways, guess what?
What?
It's my birthday today.
Oh.
So this wicked bitch of the West is blessed with the gift of the presence of a fully wicked diva of the best kind, which is seriously sweet since his scintillating stage superstar shot to stardom as the slick, sassy and swinging single socialite Queenie in the non-blackface version, of today's chosen particle. Shout out to Andrew Lippa, rendering revelers royally regaled with her roof-raising ripper rendition of the rip-roaring Raise the Roof, and rightfully ripping open such rhythmic rainbows leaves room for a remarkable roster of roles that remain a relished reminder of her radical range, like remember when this radiant rose rose up and saved baby Lennon from the Man of La Mancha, bringing a touch of a class act between the lines and drawing the late-night comic, the Queen of the Mist, and the First Lady sweetly closer than ever. And while so close, but far, far away, audiences across America have shrieked for her in Shrek, Chess, Hair, Pippin, Evita, Tommy, Gypsy, Susical, Mamma Mia, that's a lot of single-word titles, and Traveling, which helps when Journey is literally in one's name. So I'm not waiting, plug, any longer to pepper a spicy but sweet g'day, nor say 1,000 beautiful things about this truly tender, totally transformative and tremendously talented token fixture of nearly every Broadway concert and concept recording in the past 20 years, including Funny Girl, Monster Songs, Children of Eden, The Little Princess, plus numerous solo and tribute shows. The amount of times this icon has thrilled audiences is almost criminal. So it was no surprise to see this fierce knockout catch the ire of the laws and orders, having been accosted court to court or a corpse in L and O and S and V and U and C and I and N and Y and P and D and Blue and Elementary. Oh dear, but what's on the tally only helped to steal the limelight when she took on the titular witch in the universal smash hit Wicked, and as the very first Elphaba to fly into our torture chamber, this makes her the alpha bar none. So please defy gravity and rise up out of your bubble because we're joined by actress, singer, dancer, recording artist, and Puppy Pepper's mama, whom John Travolta knows as Judella Merzim because she's the iconic Lady Julia Murney. Welcome to the Torture Chamber. How are you going?
Well, how you going, gentlemen? I'm going to tell you, Aaron, I think it is safe to say I will never, ever get an intro like that again. That was extraordinary. Truly.
That's what he does.
Thank you very much. One of these days, a guest is going to come along and say, look, that was too much. I'm sorry. I'm uncomfortable. I have to go now. And they're going to leave the room. I'm waiting for that. I need to put this puppy out because she is eating me alive right now.
She's a little nipper, isn't she? Look at her.
She is 4.5 months old now. So
she needs attention.
She does, but also we are on a time limit. So this one,
I love your whole area of the world.
It's beautiful. And look, I've been to Hawaii. That's as far as I've been. So I've not yet been to New York. So I can't return the favor yet. But Hawaii was beautiful.
It is beautiful. New York is very far.
Yep.
It's
I can't wait.
very far. So It's okay.
I think it's going to be very, very different to Melbourne, which is pretty chilled out. So anyways, now I'm sure you've been asked 1,000 questions having played Elphaba. You're a rock star to a lot of young girls out there, or they're now grown-up girls, I'm sure. It's been on for how many decades? Goodness me. So if we do ask anything cliche, you may answer with, I plead the filth, because you are American, and this is a wild party episode. And we will move on to something different.
And I'm not allowed to listen to Wicked yet. So
you're not allowed to listen to Wicked yet because we will get to that eventually. But anyways, how are you going? And how is little Peppa?
I'm going well. It's a spring is trying to bust its way out here in New York City. which is, thank goodness, also makes little Pepper happy as well. She's a bit of a princess. It was raining this morning and she won't go out when it's raining.
Oh, really?
I mean, I will fully put on my jacket, my shoes, my everything, and we'll walk downstairs. And I open the door, and the second she realizes it's wet, she just turns on her little heel and goes right back inside. I'm like, okay. But yeah, it's a pretty day here, so I'm grateful for that. And yeah, just waiting for the weather to turn over, and hopefully for variant number 27 to not come and plague our house, but who knows? I don't know at this point.
Yeah, we're planning a wedding for the next couple of days, and just fingers crossed that there's not many positives.
Yeah.
We've already had one guest drop out because they can't come, for bloody close contact or something. So,
oh man,
yeah,
it's a lot. It's a lot. But I know one thing that has helped many people during this time is music.
Yeah,
which is why we are here.
Yes, it is. Thank you very much for the segue.
How you like that segue?
I do. I like it when people do my job for me.
Yeah, I'll do it for you.
Evan. All right. Now, so second question. If you were a rock star and could have your fantasy dream rider, what crazy things would you put in there? And I want a menagerie. I want fireworks. I want extravagance.
I would always want several well-behaved dogs. Always, for sure. Gosh, crazy extravagant things. I mean, you could do those insane things like, I want cream colored peonies, but not white ones. Don't bring me white ones or you're all fired. I did see a bride actually have a complete meltdown once at her wedding because the flowers arrived and they were, I don't know, they were white and not cream. And I've never seen a total meltdown like that. But then I was kind of like, oh, my friend, it's okay. But then I thought, you know what? She's paid an awful lot of money for these flowers. I suppose they should be what she asked for. I don't know. It's okay. She's divorced now anyway. So, that worked out well.
Well, maybe if the dogs were the right color.
Exactly. If everything was correct. But yeah, I don't know what other things I'd have in my rider. Dogs. I want dogs.
No, that's the right answer. Still not a goat, but we may eventually. Actually, no, we moved on from a goat because a goat requires grass.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose like a baby goat. I've never done. Have you heard of the goat yoga? Have you heard of that?
No.
Or it's a thing. It's an actual thing, you guys. You can Google it and see it, where you do yoga and there are baby goats. And while you're doing, like, I don't know, a downward, I've never done it, a downward dog or a plank or something, the goats will sometimes just hop up on your back.
Wow.
Or put their face in your face.
Okay.
I don't think it serves any purpose beyond, oh, there's a baby goat in my face. I think there's no like physical positivity to it except your heart.
Yeah.
And I don't think you'd want adult goats because, we had goats in New Zealand and they've got attitudes. They really do.
So there you go. The babies don't know yet. So
never heard of baby goat yoga, but I know that I do look like a goat when I try to do yoga. So does that count?
Sure.
Yeah. Awesome.
It's all good. I would also, this isn't crazy, but I would definitely have peanut butter M&Ms in my dressing room at all times. That's the snack. I only allow myself to have it if I'm flying, if I'm going on a flight somewhere. And the first time I flew during this whole pandemic situation, I tried to see if I could just put some inside my mask, like just to have at all. It didn't work out well. It wasn't
feedback situation going on.
It was an interesting idea that did not fully realize itself. So, oh well.
No, but look, I've said it before on this show, boredom is the mother of invention.
Indeed.
And there we have the proof right there. But anyway, so we'll move on to metal. Speaking of boredom, now, do you have any experience as a teenage headbanger?
I do not. I will say that one of my dear friends who I grew up in New York City, but my parents had a house about an hour and a half outside of the city and she lived up there. So she was my friend up there and I hung out with her and all of her friends on the weekends. Evan, I don't know if this is considered metal, but they were very into Ozzy, Rush. Is that metal or is that just
Oh, hell yeah.
hard rock? Like, is there a...
No, Ozzy Osbourne. He's the Prince of Darkness. He's the king. Jeez.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
So Evan, the way you talk to my guest, it's like, geez.
No. I mean, so I definitely, I probably would not have been exposed to that music.
Yep.
But I was because of them. And I remember very clearly when Randy Rhoads died.
Yeah.
And all of them reacting so deeply to it. I remember that very, very much.
I think he was only 22, 23.
He was yeah. And he was like their hero.
He was a legend. He
Yeah.
was an up and coming, guitar great. And just taken, I think, how he died. Was it plane crash?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, it was plane crash.
I believe so.
Yeah.
And I will say the only other metal I ever even flirted with would be when a friend of mine won. Well, when radio stations, back in the day anyway, when there were radio stations, they would have contests to win tickets to a concert.
Yep.
And my friend Mike was obsessed with Billy Joel. The radio was on one day and he wasn't paying full attention. And there was a contest and he ran to the phone and he dialed and he won. But they were not tickets to Billy Joel. They were tickets to Bon Jovi. And then he was like, who am I going to take to Bon Jovi? Oh, I'll take Julia. And I went, and the opener for Bon Jovi was Rat.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
I have no idea who that is.
Rat is spelled with 2 T's, Aaron, just so you know.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing it was mid to late 80s, full on high hair, all of it.
Which is a segue to Tawny Kitaen, because she was married to the guitarist of Rat.
She was?
Yep. And before David Cloverdale.
Okay. Because I was like, wait, she was with the lead singer of Whitesnake, right?
Actually, I don't know if she was married to him, but yeah, she was dating him. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Before Whitesnake. Yeah.
So basically what we're realizing is that all roads leads to Tawny Kitaen.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's fine. I'm fine with that. Look, she was, Aaron, I understand that you perhaps don't know what we're speaking of. I can't believe that I can actually have a conversation about both of these things.
I've surprised my guests when they come on this show and think that I'm young, but then I'll pull out like an Eddie Haskell reference or know that Buddy Holly was 22 when he died as well, which I was going to jump in with before, that age is nothing. But I have no idea who she is. Sorry.
Tawny Kitaen, I think she passed. Am I right?
Yeah, last year.
Yeah, sadly, like way too young, way too young. She was a video vixen. I don't know what you would call her. She was in a bunch of videos. She was so sexy. She had this mane of red hair. And in the Here I Go Again video, which is Whitesnake, she definitely does a bit of a bump and grind dance on the hood of a car that became very ingrained, certainly in my young brain when I saw it, because I was like, is that what I'm supposed to be like?
Yeah.
Is that what boys want? Am I supposed to be sexy like that? I don't think I can be sexy. Like she was one of those women who just, if she was probably at the market buying produce, she was sexy.
Yeah.
But yeah, she was the hot ticket.
Yeah, she graced many album covers as well. Certainly Rat album covers. She was on 2 of them. She was actually doing cartwheels on the hood of like 2 Jaguars.
Yeah. Was it a Jaguar?
Yeah, they were Jags. That was actually David Coverdale's car.
Oh, his actual car, really?
That was his car. Yeah. There's a story where they met and they went on a date and he was wearing the blue suit that he was in the video, and that's his car. And yeah, they went out for a date and the car broke down and it was a disaster, really.
I wonder if she did cartwheels on the car during the date. We'll never know.
Yeah.
We'll never know.
Yeah, it was funny because she had no idea he was a singer in a band or anything at the time, and was just sort of having this disastrous date going, this is not going to work.
Huh.
And she, while dating, previously just dating, a guy in a rock band and trying to get away from those kind of guys.
I have no idea. Sorry.
But yeah, she became the quintessential sort of music video, rock video girl.
Yeah.
And so many other videos tried to emulate her. And yeah, she's iconic just for that. She actually, I think she got inducted into the Hall of Fame for services to music, something like that.
Really?
Yeah. She got an award for something just for being in those videos.
Oh, good on her.
I'd give her an award just for looking like that.
Yeah.
Why not?
59 she died. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very sad.
Yeah, it's officially heart disease, but then they list all the chemicals that were in her body as well.
Really?
I was.
I didn't know that.
A lot of them were antidepressants, and then some painkillers. Yeah, there was antidepressants, painkillers. Some paracetamol, and there was an opioid in there.
Fame is so incredibly taxing on anyone in the spotlight, really.
I cannot imagine. I mean, I'm in the tiniest of spotlights, the tiniest. And sometimes it feels a little much. And to think of anyone exponentially, I mean, I understand in a weird sort of conceptual way why rock stars become drug addicts. Because I've done concerts, you get to, if it happens to be like, for example, if I do a symphony concert and you spend all day, you rehearse with this symphony, you've got these 80-piece orchestra behind you, and all of the energy is coming at you. And then the audience is there for you. And then afterwards, if you sign CDs or pictures or whatever, it's all coming at you and it's all coming at you. And
yeah, just noise.
And then you go back to a hotel room. And when that door shuts, even though you might be like, whew, I'm tired, let me lie down, it's suddenly very quiet. And that's just me singing show tunes with a symphony. What is it like to be a rock star in an arena in front of 20,000 people?
And it's go, go, go.
Yeah. And the amount of adrenaline and energy that it takes to get yourself up to perform at this level for people, and then to try and live a normal life.
Yeah. And you'd be surrounded by it too, touring in a band with all the roadies and the crew and gear. And
yeah.
There'd be, there's always someone smoking something, it's always around.
Well, and of course, like, what's the only thing, like, what's going to help you replicate? It's a high being on stage.
Yeah.
That is a high. So how do you replicate it, or how do you manage when you're not in that high? And if you're not happy with yourself or grounded in yourself or whatever it is, that's what's going to happen. You're just going to be like, I'm going to take that or drink that or snort that, and that's going to let me feel that good feeling. That's what you think anyway.
That's it. And then there's also the pressure of when a band or a singer comes out with a massive hit and creatively they might have peaked, but then there's that time afterwards, that expectation, the pressure to what's next, what are they going to do next? And you see a lot of people spiral after that initial, so it's probably best to have a build up over time and warm yourself into it more so than just explode.
There was a time when I was younger, when I probably would have looked at things like, I don't know if Whitesnake does any of these kinds of things, but they have now they have cruises, like metal cruises, and like your favorite 80s metals bands are on those cruises or whatever.
Yeah.
And when I was younger, there might've been a time where I was like, oh, that's so sad that that's what they're doing. And now I'm like, no, they're just trying to make a living.
Yeah.
Not everyone is the Rolling Stones. As a matter of fact, no one is the Rolling Stones except for the Rolling Stones. You can't fill arenas your whole life long. And if that's what they do, you're a musician. It doesn't matter what kind of a musician you are. You're an artist.
Yeah, not only that, but an audience does not get free alcohol at a stadium. Thank you very much. There is nothing wrong with cruises. Not all of them are filled with old people.
Oh, nothing's wrong with cruises. Nothing's, it's all...
I'm saying that to the audience out there who would think that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I've been on several.
Yeah. Oh, awesome.
But just the notion of... you hit really big, that's almost more danger than hitting somewhere in the middle and then being able to coast. Like, what do you do when you're Whitesnake? And for a while, your songs are in everyone's mouth. Yeah. And then I don't know how many albums they ended up making. I don't know if they're still together or anything like that.
Yep. Yeah. Still going. Yep.
But yeah, you keep going because that's what you do.
But yeah, that's certainly what happened with this week's chosen album, the self-titled
Whitesnake. Yeah.
What is it? 1987 again. I think we're in the 80s again.
Yes.
All the best music. I'm sorry, it was in the 80s. Yeah, Whitesnake's just killer. Huge album. Self-titled. Just full of rock anthems. I don't see how you can dislike this. Hey, you're going to sit here and go, I've never heard of this.
Don't count me out yet, mate. I might have loved it. Thank you very much. I've surprised you a lot lately. When I first saw the cover, I couldn't be bothered writing a joke, but then I saw the length of this eponymous Whitesnake effort and realized this CD is an anaconda at 400 minutes long. Boo, hiss. But will the daunting length tip the scales? Will Aaron enjoy another band he's never heard? And will Lassie save Timmy from the well? So I pressed play on the spotted tiff to find out, and was instantly disappointed to find the first track, Crying in the Rain, was in fact not the Everly Brothers song of the same name. And while both songs are mid-tempo, Whitesnake's attempt didn't seem to have any hook beyond brooding. The interval contained a dramatic cascade which was relatable, if anyone who knows me, but apart from repeating the song title, the fact that this 5.5-minute song required an intermission just highlights how long this song is. Bad Boys sadly wasn't the Inner Circle song of the same name. That's racist. Overall, this sophomore song was harder, faster, and stronger than its forefather, which is exactly what one wants from a bad boy. As the third track began, I myself began to become dismayed at the selection of song titles. Still of the Night, The Five Satins, Here I Go Again, Okay Go, Gimme All Your Love, Madonna and Nicki Minaj, Is This Love, Bob Marley? How disappointing. But I shouldn't judge a song by its title. That's what covers are for. But overall, this 87 hit felt labored, drawn out. I was left feeling restless from the length, not antsy from the sleaze, because whilst it had its sleazy moments, it felt pretty cold-blooded to me. Oh, I get the band name now. 2 stars. Yeah, sorry. I no experience with Whitesnake before. One song is on an ad.
Well, Here I Go Again, probably.
Probably, yeah, that one. Isn't that on an ad in Australia? Like a beer ad or something?
It's probably been used many times. I didn't look into the commercial use of it. I'm sure it's been used many times.
Yeah, but when you've got so many songs that are named after better songs, but then what you're dishing up to me is not original in compared to what I've heard so far. Look at what I've gotten excited about. I got excited about Tool. Who ever saw that coming? But they were so original and unique. Faith No More, I got excited about them. Again, there was just a uniqueness to them. I didn't hear that in this band, or at least in this album. If it's their first album, then okay.
No.
So to have these familiar song titles and such familiar sounds, but without familiarity of knowing the songs.
I think you're kind of picking up on, this is actually the 6th album. They were formed in 78.
Oh, then they were bored by then. That's why.
I say it's really just David. David Coverdale he's the driving force. He's the only member who stayed the whole way through. They've actually had 40 different band members over the years.
Wow.
They change constantly. So yeah, this is the 6th album. It started in the UK. And they were very bluesy, kind of a blues rock type band, very heavily blues influenced. And they were getting a little bit of airplay in the US, but really bugger all. And he wanted to really break into the US market. So, moved to America, signed with Geffen, and they sat down and went, right, let's make an album that will appeal to the US market. Mm-hmm. So that's what you're hearing is it is kind of heavily produced and made because we want some hits.
Beige. It's beige. It's as beige as that cover.
Sorry, what?
It was beige, the whole album. I just didn't feel...
Okay, yeah.
Do you know what song I kept hearing? Come On, Feel the Noise. And I can't even tell you what band that was. We did that how many weeks ago? How many months ago?
Twisted Sister, which again, a link. The guy who did the video for Here I Go Again also did Twisted Sister's videos.
Isn't Come On, Feel the Noise Quiet Riot?
Oh, yes, it is too. You've got
Quiet Riot.
Yeah, it is.
Who was that episode? Because Twisted Sister was David Zippel. Quiet Riot.
Oh, I can't remember.
David Zippel had Twisted Sister. That's amazing.
Now you've got me mixing up Twisted Sister and Quiet Riot.
Wait, but Aaron, I'm just curious. So there was no time listening to any of those songs that you didn't find yourself just given a little head bop to? Little like feeling the rhythm?
No, I didn't.
Huh.
Maybe... Was it Bad Boys? It was a bit rockier.
I mean, Here I Go Again is, to me, also, I will say that song was introduced to me in the video. You know what I mean? Like that. I didn't have the album of Whitesnake, but I knew what songs they released as singles and that they put out as videos. And videos were so important to music at that juncture, for better or worse. That was just what it was. And a band like Whitesnake, they were good looking, and had all that hair. So even if it wasn't my kind of music, I was kind of like, what's happening? Wait, what's that guy? What's he doing? And then inside the video, then they've got Tawny Katane, who I'm like, I think that she's the ideal that I'm supposed to match up to. And so I guess I hear like that song, for example, and I am very flooded with lovely nostalgia for a time. But I also like, I can hear that song in my head right now, and I can pop my head back and forth. Like, nothing, Aaron, huh? Nothing.
No, I'm still hearing Come On, Feel the Noise.
That's a totally different band.
But no, Here I Go Again it's just one of the greatest rock anthems of the 80s. It was just massive. They sold something. I found discrepancies. Some reports say 8 million albums, another one says 12. The record company guys say 20, but it went gangbusters. And as you said, with the music videos, without a music video, you were just going to get nowhere. If MTV weren't going to play you, that's it.
Oh yeah,
you're not going to get on.
This is a different genre of music, but like you could watch the crossover to when like Duran Duran became, they were pretty men. Those men were, just pretty. And coming into the video era, a band like Journey, for example, were, let's just say, not as pretty as Duran Duran. They were not as made for but they had to do it. They had to give it the try because that was it. That was the only option.
Yeah, no, look, I don't know, because usually I love this genre with hair, glam metal, sleazy type music. I guess this is why we didn't listen to it in this house, like with my brother and sister, because
couldn't even appreciate the voice. I mean, his voice is just incredible.
Well,
will you make me a promise?
Yes.
Will you watch the Here I Go Again video after we sign off?
Yes, I will.
I just want to know that you experienced it. And I'm sure I've now oversold it. And you're going to be like, what was she talking about?
No, I will. And I'll put it on the end as an Easter egg. So when the end theme plays, it'll come up. Because quite often I put little Easter eggs at the end there, which is usually Evan embarrassing himself with something. But yes, no, I'm sorry. This was just, I guess, because in this game that we're doing, there is a lot of comparison to the ones that came before it. That's sort of just natural to the game, and it is hard to wipe the slate clean every time because I'm supposed to be learning. I'm supposed to be seeping in the information and the music and the styles and all that jazz. So maybe it is just a matter of I've become too familiar with this sector of hair metal.
Wait, so Aaron, what bands have stood out to you? Where has your flavor gone to of what in this series?
Faith No More got 5 stars.
Oh, okay.
System of a Down, the last time we did that, got a pretty good score. Rammstein, because who can say no to Alison Fraser when she's sitting there telling you about her favorite band?
Oh, she's a huge fanboy. Yeah.
Massive fangirl of Rammstein. But I actually quite like them because they're sort of fairy tale-ish.
Uh-huh.
There was a punk band that Kirk Thatcher...
Rammstein almost flirts with like Spinal Tap.
Yeah.
If Rammstein took 2 leaps to the right, it could be Spinal Tap.
Yeah, I think if Rammstein went for comedy... Yeah.
Yes, I don't mean that as an insult. I just mean
that's fine. Yeah. You're closer to Alison than we are, Julia. So if you want to badmouth Rammstein, that's up to you. I don't dare. No.
That's all right. That's all right.
I think Lindeman's weird and cool. Like he's a real life fairy tale character. So like there's so much. Have we done 9 Inch Nails yet?
No.
No, I haven't.
No.
I mean, sometimes what boggles my mind, and I think this is true of Whitesnake to a degree as well, the voices that the lead singers, like, have you done Def Leppard yet?
No.
Oh, I've suggested it.
I do know them a little bit from my childhood.
I mean, the height to which some of these men are screaming, but on a pitch, completely on a pitch, is like, whoa. I mean, they're not metal, but only because I mentioned them. Journey, I mean, what's his name? Steve Perry. That's a voice. That is an extraordinary voice that wasn't metal, but like a Def Leppard or the guy from Whitesnake. Like,
yeah, I made him listen to Iron Maiden, Bruce Dickinson. That the high notes he hits are incredible.
It's wild to me that they were able to do that more than 3 times ever.
Yeah.
and they're not metal, but like Bon Jovi. I mean, John Bon Jovi's voice went into the stratosphere, and it's crazy to hear.
One singer we've brought up on the show, well, Evan's brought up on the show, have a look at him on YouTube. His name's Jimmy Barnes. And that's all I'm going to say. Like, I'm not going to say anything else. Just check him out and get back to me on that, because you're just going to go, whoa. And then you're going to need a throat lozenge.
Fair. That's fair.
But his voice is just an oddity. You'll hear it and go, how can you do that day after day? And he's been doing it for 40 years.
And there are some people who just can't.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, look, I'll change the world completely for a second of what we're speaking of. But like, even in the world of Elphabas in Wicked, which, Evan, just so you know, that's the name of the Wicked Witch in the musical Wicked.
Right.
Which is the role that I played. As well as at this point, the show's been on for like, I don't know, 17, 18 years on Broadway. So you can imagine a lot of women have played this role. It's a very difficult role to sing, and most people do wrestle with it. But every once in a while, a woman comes along who ruins it for everybody else, because for some reason it's easy for her. And you're like, no, you're ruining it. You're making us look bad.
Julia, they said that about you.
So I don't know Jimmy Barnes, but like, he might be one of those singers where like, well, people who can sing like that make it difficult for anyone else, because you just can't. And it's hard, after time. I don't know if Whitesnake is still singing their hits in their original keys.
Oh, yeah, no, his voice hasn't held up.
No, it wouldn't. It's not made for that. John Bon Jovi can't sing up there anymore, but he shouldn't be able to. Like, after a while, the muscle that you're using, it's a very small muscle, and it cannot get worked out in physical therapy the way a quadricep muscle can. You can't, there are things you can do, but there's only so much. And then there's just whatever your physiognomy is and what happens to you as you age, how often you've sort of bruised it. And that's why, especially like those kinds of like hard rock and metal singers, it just blows my mind that they could do it at all.
Yeah, let alone, a couple of times every weekend and tour around the world and just keep doing it.
What's his name? AC/DC.
Bon Scott, or
well, Bon Scott's dead, and then
Brian Johnson.
Is that who I'm thinking of? Like, that's a thrash.
Yes,
that is a thrash of a voice. But he did it. He did it for an extended amount of time.
It sits in a place. Like, I'm sure when you're doing Elphaba, that, and especially Defying Gravity, and it is such a huge song, Evan, like you wouldn't believe, and it's very much mostly just Elphaba commanding that whole song. It sits in a place, I'm sure that it's comfortable, that you're able to actually hit the note but not screw up the vocal cords.
Yeah, it depends on the day, frankly, because also, to be clear, if you're on a rock tour, if you're on an arena tour, you're not doing your show 8 times a week. We're doing our shows 8 times a week.
Yeah, I was waiting for that to come up.
Yep.
Opera singers don't do it. Ballet dancers don't do it. Like, it's rather inhuman. And that's where, you get into trouble. That's where the problems lay. And that as much vocal technique as I or anyone else may have, there are going to be some shows that I have no problem doing. I can just sail through as long as I'm warm and taking care of myself. And there are other shows that are always going to be a bit of an arm wrestle, and a bit of a, like, I'm going to cross my fingers and jump. And then some nights you have to be like, I'm out. I can't do the show tonight. It's tricky. It's a tricky little monster.
Just curious, when was the last time you sang Defying Gravity?
Well, that's the one I have to sing most often. So, in terms of, I don't know, the last time I sang it was probably last year. I had to do a symphony show in Texas, and I sang it there. Yeah. If I'm invited to go somewhere to do a concert, somewhere not in New York City, generally I have to sing Defying Gravity. Like, even if I don't want to, that's why I'm invited. It's part of why I'm invited. Look, not nobody, but like the general public doesn't know what the Wild Party is. And so they don't care. It's not like they're like, oh my gosh, here she comes. She was the original in the Wild Party. They don't know. Yeah. So me singing a song from the Wild Party, they'd be like, that's a nice song. It doesn't have the same I just did a solo show here in the city a few weeks ago, and I sang a song from the Wild Party that I had not sung since we did the show 23 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And I sang it because the lyrics of the song to me speak so much about where specifically the country of the United States of America is at right now in its political issues, shall we say. And that's why I sang it, because I felt like the lyrics really spoke to that.
Yeah.
But I also knew that the people who were coming to those concerts, those were people who knew the Wild Party. So it would be special to them that I was singing one of those songs. But Defying Gravity is the one, like, when I finished doing Wicked, I had to almost take the song to lunch and have a sit down with it and be like, okay, we need to be friends, because clearly I'm going to be asked to sing you. So
yes,
all these years later, I'm still singing it.
It's very much a commitment. We had Daniel Franzese on the show, who was in the movie Mean Girls. He played Damien in Mean Girls, which was the gay.
Oh, was that like the fashionista guy?
Yeah, the real gay one that
everyone
loves. And he talks a little bit about it, that character is always going to follow him everywhere he goes.
But the truth of it is, like, while it was very difficult to do and all of that kind of stuff, in general and with hindsight, doing Wicked changed my life 100%. And I am so grateful to it. And I mean, Stephen Schwartz, who wrote it, I knew him from before. I had actually worked with most of the people on the creative staff before the show. And I will do anything Stephen Schwartz ever asks me to do. He has been such a driving force and a hero of mine before I knew him.
Yeah.
Because he wrote Godspell. He wrote Pippin. I got my actors union card doing Godspell in a summer stock in Rhode Island. So to be part of something like Wicked is a very special thing. Because I've been a part of a lot of shows that were total like flops that didn't do anything. To be a part of a show that is still running and that people, sort of what you mentioned before, like the young, because I did the show so long ago and I was one of the sort of original witches, that the young, the like 13-year-olds or whatever, who were so crazy about that show back in the day, when I was doing it, they are now grown and have children who they're dragging to see Wicked because they're like, you will love this show because I love this show. It is that kind of a show. And it's wild to be a part of that.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're all interchangeable. I mean, I had a little girl come up to me in the past few years and I was singing in a concert somewhere, I don't know where I was, Illinois or something. And she said, you were my first Elphaba in Detroit. And I did indeed do the tour in Detroit. But I looked at her and I went, sweetie, how old are you? And she said, 12. I went, that wasn't me.
Oh, you've broken her poor heart, Julia.
You weren't born yet.
He wasn't born. And then I was like, oh God, I ruined her day. I should have just said thank you and walked off. But I like facts. I like people to have the facts.
Yes, me too. Yeah. Oh my God. So I don't look like a fool, basically. But anyways, I do prefer the truth. But it looks like we're shedding the Whitesnake skin and slithering to an ad break.
Coming this summer, winter, spring, or fall, the first ever musical theater sitcom, where you go behind the scenes of the latest West End show, the Fosse Forest Ballet.
Where's the important stuff? Aha! £1,000 a week ensemble rate. Ah, that's what Mamma Mia likes.
Starring Philip Joel and a West End cast featuring Carrie Ellis, Darren Day, Louise Demon, and Oliver Saville, and more.
It all started in 1987 when I was a jobbing actress working in a diner.
Yeah, it's just I had a really bad experience when I was touring Australia with a wombat.
Darling! Mwah, mwah.
La, la.
How long have I been mentoring you? 3 months?
2 years.
So her name is Henrietta.
The horse. Yes.
I've managed to secure you an audition for the biggest, most innovative, and the latest show to be going into the West End. Joseph and his Technicolor Dreamcoat. Think more along the lines of Pant.
Frozen.
You can watch this episode for the price of a coffee. Simply go to www.thefossyforestballet.com. Any and all profits go back to theatre charities, acting for others, and the theatre's trust. You'll laugh, you'll cry, and you'll see a grown man in sparkly tights.
Tight nights. Nice tights.
We're back with Thrash and Treasure. I'm Aaron, that's Evan, and we are joined by the incomparable Julia Murney,
How are you going?
or as John Travolta calls her, Judella Mozime. Every single wicked Elphaba or Galinda that comes on this show is getting a John Travolta name. Not the rest of them, because otherwise I'll be there all day.
Indeed.
It's like everyone's done Wicked at some point on tour or on Broadway, London or Australia.
It seems like it. Yes.
Yes, and we just had a Mary Tester on the show last week. But anyways, we're going to move on because this week we're doing for the musical The Wild Party. But before Evan gives his toast, I have a quick party game, and it is called When Was the Last Time? So when was the last time you jumped in puddles for fun?
It certainly wasn't in the last few months because it was just winter here, and those are cold puddles. So I don't know. I can't recall.
I want tabloid photos of Julia Murney jumping down the street in puddles this summer.
Fair.
Awesome.
Fair.
When was the last time you gasped when you entered a theater?
Oh, huh. Well, it's funny that this is not really an answer to the question. I have not seen Moulin Rouge yet.
Yep.
But every photo I've seen of the theater, of what they've done, what it has made me go, whoa.
Yeah.
I mean, it's tricky because we haven't had really any new theater for
true.
the last 2 years. So it's more, I would say, of the shows that I've seen since everything has reopened.
Yeah.
Most of them have been revisits for me of shows I've already seen.
Yeah.
So it wasn't so much a gasp as it was an exhalation of, oh, there. That's nice.
Yeah.
Everything's back where it belongs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They remembered where everything went. Oh, nice.
That's
Yeah.
it. Back in the awkward seats of our theaters here in Melbourne.
What did I see? I saw Aladdin in Melbourne.
Yeah. Oh, really? Oh, wow. I saw that too.
Yes, because one of my best friends is Michael James Scott, who is the genie.
Oh, wow. I didn't get to see him because he had left by then.
I came to Melbourne to see him.
Oh, wow. Oh, beautiful.
I really just use it. I had already seen him do it. I used it as an excuse to go to Melbourne because
Yeah.
I hadn't been there yet.
You don't need an excuse to come to Melbourne, Julia. It is an amazing city.
I loved it. But that's why I spent a good little chunk of time there. And that's why Perth is next on the stop. I want to go west.
Yep. Check out the stromatolites in Western Australia if you can get there. They're the rocks that are the oldest living organisms on this earth.
Oh,
They're slimy coral rocks. They're basically our ancestors, really, as you can tell by looking at Evan. Anyways, when was the last time you danced with a random old man or old lady?
dance with a random old man or old lady. I mean, this is sort of a group effort, but I guess in February, I got to go to Disney World for a few days.
Jealous.
And there's a lot of, you know, like random small bands that play and people dance around. And there was a grandma and her, I'm guessing, grandchild, and they were dancing. And then I was sort of dancing with them. And so
lovely.
we sort of danced together.
Oh, beautiful. So there's so many photos of me dancing with random old ladies on cruise ships. It's not funny. When was the last time you slammed down a phone in frustration?
Well, here's the problem. We don't slam down phones anymore, do
we?
we?
We don't. Why didn't I live in a bubble, Julia. I have no idea what's going on outside of this.
Angry press.
It's and I will say, as someone who lived in the time when we had landlines and the slammable phone, that is much more satisfying,
isn't it?
Than just hitting the button on your phone, on your mobile phone, is not any fun.
Yeah.
But the slam, and remember on the old phones, like you could slam it down and the bell inside sometimes would sort of ring.
Yep.
That was like, that's right. I told them.
Yep.
So I guess the last time I did that was probably in 1990 something or other.
Yep. Probably the last time all of us did it. Parents are old. But anyways, when was the last time you howled at the moon?
Oh, just last week.
Yeah, me too.
I was down in Florida and
Yep.
there was a beautiful moon and my friends and I all howled at it. So just
Oh,
recently.
awesome.
Yeah.
It feels so good. Like they say in Jerry's Spring of the Opera, there is only one cure for unrequited love, chocolate and howling at the moon. Now, when was the last time you stopped to listen to the birds?
Oh, that would also be last week on that trip that I took.
Very
yeah.
good.
Because that was a lot of like moments where it was just quiet and you
Mhm.
just heard birds and
Yeah.
a little bit of water. It was lovely.
Awesome. When was the last time you screamed during a horror movie?
I don't see horror movies.
You don't? No.
I do not like being scared. Oh, more, I don't like being put on edge
Mm-hmm.
of like what might happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm definitely not a screamer like that. Even
Yep.
when I go on, I actually don't really do roller coasters anymore either. I've gotten too old. But when I did, I was never a screamer on the road. I would scream, but like in my head voice, like, ah!
Yep.
Because I would always be too scared to screw up my voice, even if I wasn't in a show. Like
Yep.
your brain is just like, oh no, don't mess up your voice.
Mm-hmm. Now, speaking of on edge, when was the last time you avoided somebody on the street?
Oh gosh. I don't know the last time, but it certainly wasn't too long ago, I'm
Wasn't
sure.
too long ago. Yep.
Also because coming out of like lockdown and stuff, I'm not entirely prepared to see everybody.
Yeah,
I
I get that. Yeah.
If I can now think of someone that I saw, someone like the last couple months who I saw from afar, and I didn't have the emotional bandwidth. There was nothing wrong with this person, but I knew if I saw this person, it was going to turn into a conversation on the street corner that was going to last. And I was like, I think my day is done. I don't have it. I'll get that conversation another time.
I have done exactly that.
Yeah.
Seen like
Yeah.
an ex-coworker, and yeah, the last time I bumped into them, we ended up just crapping on for like half an hour. I was like, I do not have time for him today, and it just
Yeah.
went the other way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not mad to see that person or upset or scared to see that person. I just realized I didn't have the time.
When was the last time you baked something for your neighbors?
Oh, 2 days ago.
Oh, lovely.
I do that a lot.
Yeah. And Evan, one for you. When was the last time you showered? Because, dude. Now, lastly, when was the last time you watched this movie?
Oh my God. I'm gonna say when it came out.
Yeah.
When it came out. Do we explain to the people what you've just showed me?
Yes. For those at home, I've held up the DVD for Barton Fink, which is a Coen Brothers film, because Julia's father, Christopher, was in that, who is a very well-respected actor.
It's true. Spoiler alert, my father gets his head blown off by a shotgun. I can't remember if John Goodman is wielding that shotgun. I can't remember.
But Evan, you would know Maximum Overdrive.
Oh, love Maximum Overdrive.
Yeah.
My father is the disgusting Bible salesman who gets killed by the Happy Toys truck in Maximum Overdrive.
Well, yeah, he's had enough, and he walks out and he's like, you can't do this to me. You can't do this to us. You're machines. And he gets run down. That one.
Oh my,
Is that him? Wow.
Evan.
Yeah, it's a Stephen King fanatic. That's why.
I love that film. Yeah.
Evan.
I watched it recently. I showed my wife. It's like, you've got to watch this.
And
film.
as you, I'm sure, know, that is the one Stephen King adaptation into a movie that he himself directed.
Yeah.
I think it's the only one.
Which is why the soundtrack kicks ass, because it's all AC/DC and heavy metal. Yeah.
There it is. That's my dad.
Wow. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Except I got to say, of my father's resume, you have both now just pulled out probably the least discussed of all of his resume. So I'm very impressed.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Very,
Look,
very impressed.
We don't usually bring up people's family or anything like that, even when, someone's got a famous wife or whatnot. But I thought Barton Fink really is such a deep cut.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. No, I didn't do any research into that. It was more, I saw a side note of, your father was an actor and involved in theater, and that was about it. That was all I looked.
Little did you know.
Yeah.
He was in that highlight of cinema known as Maximum Overdrive.
Yeah, such a cool movie.
I've been keeping that secret for how many days or weeks now, Evan?
So good.
Desperate to tell you or say something about it or hint to you, but I thought, no, let's wait to get your reaction.
I am applauding.
Yeah, awesome. Anyways, moving on. We're going to do the Wild Party,
Yay!
which
Finally.
is Andrew Lippa's version, not the blackface version, as I like to call it, which is definitely going to get me in trouble one day.
Yes, so let's not call the other one that. Let's not do that.
No disrespect to Michael John at all, because he is legendary and a genius. It is all me being a shithead. So, Evan, what did you think of this musical? Please tell the leading lady.
No, that's okay. You go right ahead.
The first listen through, I didn't really know what to make of it. It was certainly going for a 1920s feel and a lot of muted trumpets and honky tonk pianos, and they certainly nailed the era.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course I go, what is this thing about? And I start my research. And so what's this? This was came out in 2000, based on a 1926 poem by Joseph Moncure March, which seemed to be a bit of a cult classic, like word of mouth. People sort of passed it around. And it was in, I think, 94. Art Spiegelman saw it or read it and was inspired to do the illustrations for it. So because it was in public domain by that time, he was able to just reprint it with all his illustrations. Now I tracked down that copy and did read it. So I've read the same poem as was it Andrew Lippa and was it Michael John? How do you say his last? Lacusa. So they've both read this same source material and decided it should be a musical around the 94 era, which is just nuts that this how this even came about, that you've ended up with two musicals of the same source material, the same name, both being staged at the same time. It's just mental.
It is mental.
It's mental how it even happened. And I love with Aaron just sends me a link and goes, listen to it. And then, you'll figure it out. So I got on this.
Didn't say anything.
You don't say anything, and I have to figure it out.
Yep.
And I'm looking for pro shots, and I'm looking for clips, and I'm seeing Eartha Kitt and Mandy Patinkin, and go, what's going on here? Tony Collette.
Not the right one. Nope.
Not the right one. Yeah, and then I had to figure out that.
Sorry to interrupt. I've never heard that one.
Yeah, well, I did listen to the other one.
Oh, it's fabulous. It's wildly different.
Yes, they
wildly
are vastly different.
I don't know why.
After reading the source material, I feel that the Mandy Patinkin one follows the text closer, and yours follows the story basically. Whereas the songs in yours are more abstract. And you have to. I would have loved to have seen the show. There's no pro shot. There's amateur productions that I didn't really see.
Yeah, there's no. It was really prior to the times when people were doing like fully illegal but really well done bootlegs.
Yeah.
So there's one recording that I don't know is on it that you can find. It's of the B-roll, where they come in for press and they film a good portion of the show, but it's only like an hour plus. I've seen it and watched it, but like sometimes they focus on weird things. You're like, no, just stop putting it on this person. There's a whole dance number going on over there. So, I mean, it's good, but it's not the whole show. It gives you a flavor, certainly. But yeah, the two musicals are, and interesting that you listened to them both. I mean, I think in general, Lippa's is thought of musically as a bit more anachronistic, that Michael John's is more in the style of the 20s jazz age. And Lippa's has like an electric guitar where you're like, what is that doing there? And the music, the songs themselves are a bit not of the era, but they both, as you noticed probably, or not, I don't know, they both start with the exact same lyrics, which is the exact opening of the poem. And they have the same characters, but the poem is not long enough to fill a whole evening of a musical. So the way each one then veers off and who they magnify of the smaller characters are very different. But sorry, you're not done with your
Yeah,
review.
no, fair. Yeah, that's very cool.
That's why we invite you guys on, Julia, to get the insight, and it's much more interesting than anything either of us two could say. So,
funnily enough, I initially dubbed this March of the Vibratos. It was your voice in some of the tracks. Just the vibrato was just stunning.
it's very clever.
That's what popped into my head. It's like this is March of the Vibratos. Raise the Roof stood out. There was a fair few songs that really did stand out, just musically, just as standalone songs. Yeah, Let Me Drown also stood out for me for some reason.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's the story. It's the story around it and how it differs from the text as well that sort of intrigued me. One thing that did bother me in the original text, Oscar and Phil, who I assume are brothers, Oscar and Phil Domano. Now, in the poem, they sit down and sing a song called My Sweetie Is Gone. They even have half the lyrics of the song in the poem. And I don't think either musical used that song.
That's interesting because I was going to ask you, I mean, I saw Michael John's, but I don't, and I've sung a song or two from it, but I don't know that one. So I was going to ask you if they sang that because we
no,
and I don't know why. I was involved with Lippa's show from basically its first reading onward, and there was never, to my recollection, a song that the brothers sang called anything about My Sweetie. Yeah,
I just found it odd that you're writing a musical about a poem that has two songs in it. They sing My Sweet Adeline as well, but there's two songs in it and you don't use either of them.
That's very interesting. I should definitely ask that question if I think of it the next time I see either Michael John or Andrew.
And neither musical did, as far as I can tell.
That's really funny.
It was weird.
That's weird. I agree with you.
But yeah, it's another one of those, like, the more I listened to it, the more I liked it. And then I went and listened to your album as well.
Oh, that's nice of you.
And you can hear I can hear like Raise the Roof. It was an experience. It was great I enjoyed the research of it and the story behind the two musicals together and the poem that it came from and how that got
It's definitely I don't know of any other situation where that has occurred, mostly because when someone's writing something that's based on something else, it's you buy the rights to it. So no one else will, but this was public domain.
No one had to ask anyone. Yeah.
Phantom. Those are both about the Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah, true.
But that's it. Like literally the shows begin with the same lyrics.
Yeah.
Both shows begin with Queenie was a blonde and her age stood still and she danced twice a day in vaudeville. Totally different melodies, totally different everything. I will say my one regret of that time. So there's a sort of I don't know what you call it, a secondary awards show in New York City called the Drama Desk Awards.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Which like the Tonys are the big one and then the Drama Desks are the kind of the next one down. And we had already closed our production, but we got the most nominations of any show that year. And the Drama Desks combine Broadway and off Broadway. So I was nominated and I was in the Best Actress category, and it was all of the women who had been nominated for a Tony Award and me. And Toni Collette was one of those women. And so I'm at the Drama Desks and I'm feeling very like excited. I've never been nominated for anything. I was also nervous. It was also, oddly enough, the ceremony for the Drama Desk that year was literally taking place in my high school, in my actual high school.
That's right. You went to the Fame School, didn't you?
Yes. So that was also a part of it. I was like, why am I in my high school? This place they've got to get better than this. They cannot do this here. But at one point she was nearby me and I just wanted to meet her. I mean, I admire her so much. And I wanted to, go up to her and be like, hi, you're Queenie and I'm Queenie. And that's crazy. And she was standing a bit away from me and I was trying to get up my guts to go and say hello to her. And there was a photographer who walked by and they went, hey, Toni. And she turned and looked at them and then like struck this like silly but like sexy pose. And they took a picture and I immediately was so intimidated. And I was like, because they also thought, I don't know anything about her. I had not heard at that point a word about like, oh, she's great, or she's really standoffish or anything. I knew nothing.
Yeah.
And in that split second, I thought, no, I'm having a really good night. If she's going to be like crazy and weird and make me feel badly, I'm not interested. It's like going to see a scary movie. I don't want to be put on edge.
Yeah.
And so I walked away. Now, P.S. I will say I've never heard a bad word about her it subsequently, and how I wish I had gone up and said something to her. I hope someday I have the opportunity to say something. Yeah, she was great in the other one, in Michael John's.
Yeah.
She was, I mean, I wish she would come back and do more musicals because but it's a lot of work. I would imagine Toni Collette is, perhaps she lives in Australia. I don't know. And she's got her family and she goes and does movies and then goes back to her family. And,
slow down a little bit.
Yes.
I love her. I think she's absolutely amazing. And it was a surprise.
Oh, she's extraordinary.
Because she'd obviously done Muriel's Wedding in 94, which is not about Toni Collette. This is about your career. But just quickly, that it was such a surprise that only, 5 years later, then she rocks up on Broadway. Out of all the things she could have done to have the career, and she chose Broadway. She chose to do that. And that, I think that says a lot about her and a lot about her work ethic and about her commitment and her talent, that she could do it.
Yeah. And I think about perhaps also her desire to,
Yeah.
like, I've never done that. Let me go do that.
Yeah.
And now she's checked that box and she can either be done with it or come on back. I'm sure she would be welcomed back with open arms.
Yeah. I don't know. She hasn't done anything musical since, has she?
No. So, go figure. But it was definitely a wild event to be a part of.
Yeah.
And it's, if you are a musical theater goober and you know about these sorts of things, it's quite famous inside its own little world. And the thing that's really fortunate is that the reason the show lives on is because we made the album. And that was really before most things got recorded. Now most things get recorded. That was before it was dealing with digital. And by digital, I mean, it was on CD, but it wasn't
streaming.
I mean, there's an entire sequence in the show called The Apartment that is not on the album. And we knew it wouldn't be because it wasn't going to fit. It was going to make it a 2-disc. And so they just chopped it. We did one pass of it during the recording of the album, which we recorded all in one day. So it's fast. So we did one pass and then moved on. And now it could be different, that things are just, the world is different in terms of recordings and things like that. But that album is the reason the show lives on. And every university in America does, with a theater program, does our production. It's wild. But every year they graduate and some of them come to New York and somebody comes up to me in a random Starbucks in Midtown and they go, oh, I just did the Wild Party in college. And it's a great show for a college. It's got a big cast. It's got a lot of great singing, a lot of roles, and a lot of songs that let you like feel all your feelings. And everybody loves that.
Yeah, a lot of very interesting characters, very complicated characters.
Yeah. Complicated and messy. And
everyone's got some kind of a weird issue, which is
there's kind of no one to root for.
I can see why it was so sort of controversial in 1926, just with the content, the kind of characters that they threw in there. There was because of all kinds of people.
Look, someone only had to show their knees in 26 and they were controversial, Evan.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And
our show, definitely, we had some topless women at one point. So, it was like that. It was like that.
Here's something I couldn't find. Do they have the fight between, I think it's Eddie and Black? Black knocks out Eddie with a bottle because Eddie was messing with Kate.
That
yes
exists. No, ours had a fight between Eddie and Burrs. Why did the other one have the fight between Eddie and Black?
I'm saying the original poem. It was Black knocks out Eddie with a bottle because he was.
It's interesting. I have my poem somewhere. I don't know where it is on my shelf. I think ours had a fight. Burrs gets drunker and drunker. and he starts to hallucinate a bit, and he starts thinking in our show, in our production, that like every woman he's looking at is Queenie, like he's not seeing straight. And he finally he goes up to the character of May, who is Eddie's girlfriend, and grabs her or something. He does something because she's kissing on Eddie, and he thinks it's Queenie kissing on Eddie. So he grabs her, and Eddie's the one who's the pugilist. He's a boxer.
Yeah.
And Eddie proceeds to beat the hell out of him for touching his girlfriend. That's what I remember. I think I'm right. But again, it was a long time ago.
There's no, other than watching, smaller productions. Yeah, there was no.
To my memory, that was the one moment when I was off stage.
New York siren. Woohoo.
Oh, yes.
Sorry, I was getting excited. Never been there.
Sweetie, you understand if there's a siren.
I know it is bad. I know.
Okay,
I'm
as
well
long
aware.
as we understand.
I live on the dark side of life, Julia. Don't worry about that.
Got it.
It's more just that vibe, that atmosphere of New York City that
it is
very much sirens.
Goodness,
so anyway, sorry.
But yes, it's okay. Anyway, there was a fight. I just can't entirely recall.
Yeah. Okay.
That's right. Does he scream, "Keep my wife's mouth out of your fucking mouth" before he smacks him? Bugger. Okay.
No.
Anyways, moving on.
And what's the other? I think the only thing that I found annoying was that it seemed to miss the initial argument between Burr and Queenie when she's asked for coffee, and he's told to get it yourself, you're lazy, and that's so then the party is more of a revenge party for her. That's her motivation.
Yes, but the whole sequence of the apartment that I was just talking about that doesn't make it on the album, that's sort of where you see why she wants to screw him up, basically,
right?
Because he attacks her in that scene.
Yes.
And that's when you see, I mean, look, this is parsing hairs because of course she's a mess too. That's why I say it's kind of hard to have anyone to root for in this show. But in terms of the party itself being thrown, it's supposed to be the apartment sequence that kind of catapults her into that song Out of the Blue, I think happens like at the end of the apartment sequence after he's attacked her and all this stuff. It's so funny. This is something that never occurred to me in whatever it was, 5 years of working on this show. And it never occurred to me till after we did it. Sometimes you just miss stuff. I had a line that was something like, I think it's in the middle of Out of the Blue. And I say something about, we've never thrown a party before. We'll get blah, blah, blah. I have no idea why we've never thrown a party before. Now, today, I'd be like, why? Of course we've thrown parties. That's probably what we do. We throw debauched, fucked up parties that everybody comes to. It never occurred to me during all of those years. I mean, I had a lot of things to concentrate on, but it never occurred to anybody. Like of all the people who were, Lippa and the director and everybody who was paying attention, no one went, hey, how come? Nobody did. But now I'm like, that's funny.
A line you've been singing for 5 years suddenly doesn't make sense.
Yep. And I had lots of, Andrew was amazing, Lippa, in his collaboration and his letting me share how I felt about things. He was amazing. We were very, simpatico during all of that. And it was very, very special. And so had I had that question, I would not have been scared to ask it. I just never thought about it. Like it never occurred to me. Listening to a cast album, there are always going to be these bits and bobs, unless it's a full show cast album. There are going to be bits and bobs that sometimes explain things or thread things or whatever that aren't there. So you learn it in a very specific way. And then when you finally see a live production of the same musical, you're like, I didn't know that happened or whatever. I think it's probably easier these days to find out all the bits and bobs because you just go to Wikipedia, like there are things. But back in the day, you had the cast album until you saw it live. That was it. There was no YouTube. There was no bootleg. There was no nothing.
if I only had the cast album to listen to, like the first listen through, I was literally going, I have no idea what's going on here.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the album also, for you to listen to it, you didn't have, I don't recall, frankly, if our CD had this or not, but back in the day, there would be liner notes. You would have the physical album in front of you that often had a synopsis of the show, of what you're hearing, so you can follow along. And like all of that charm is gone. I used to obsess over liner notes on all albums I had. I would look at the thank yous. I was like who does Paul Young thank in this album? Who are these people? Because it was just a whole other world. And now you don't have that as much.
Didn't I get excited about the booklet in a case last night, Evan?
For a video game. Video games came with books and they told you the whole history.
It's exciting.
Yeah, and I was like flicking through. It was exciting. I love it. And like programs and everything I read, but that's why I don't know a lot of shows, because I might know the CDs and know the songs, but I don't want to find out the story until I see it live. So of course this show has ruined a lot of musicals for me, because obviously I have to find out the story. But
whose fault is that?
It's totally my fault. But Evan, Lacusa's Wild Party is now officially a musical that you've heard, but I haven't.
Oh, there you go.
Come on.
Like I did say the other day, it was nice to hear Mandy Patinkin singing again after.
Oh, did you? Oh, I'd switch in and out when you talk. No, I'm kidding. I'm just being a bastard. Anyways, quickly a score, because we'll move on because we are running out of time.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Like I said, I enjoyed the research and reading the poem and just hunting down the poem. Finding a copy was a digital copy that I could quickly read. That was difficult. You can order copies obviously off Amazon. Yeah, I did enjoy it. It's different. It's a really different sounding musical.
Yeah. And you've seen The Addams Family as well, which is...
Yeah, I saw a high school production of it.
Another musical that you've seen that I haven't yet seen.
Yeah, obviously your voice, the vibrato just really stands out. It's really... It was one of those times where I'm listening going, I know you do this 8 times a week. I don't know how the hell you do this 8 times a week.
I don't know how I did that 8 times a week either.
You'd be wrecked after one.
Honestly. That was written on me. And I think that's the way I was able to do that. Like everything was just part of my musculature. I don't know how I did it.
Yeah. There's some sort of hitting the top of your range limit of your voice notes in there. And it's I don't know. I just don't get how you can do that all the time.
Once you jump on the train, you're on the train. It's when you get off for a week.
And sometimes that train derails in the middle of your journey. And you're like, whoops, sorry, everybody.
Yeah, that's happened to me too.
Yeah, it's hard to give it a score because it is just so unique. It's so different. I'll go 3.5.
3.5?
3.5.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. I think I would actually listen to it again. And there's not many that I would.
Really?
I would chuck it on again. Like there's only a couple like Spring Awakening I'll chuck on.
I will say people in general over these many years, a very common comment that I get is it's a great album for driving in your car.
Yeah.
Like when you're just in the car and singing along, because you could just be like, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it's a good driving. That's been the general consensus.
And again, I enjoyed, reading the source material, seeing Art Spiegelman's artwork.
It's so cool, isn't it?
The artist. Yeah, I've got bloody screenshots of like the Queenie designs.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to have them up. I have a different setup. Anyway.
That's inside where there's a TV and everything.
Yeah, him being the writer of Mouse, who I read only last year or so. And that is amazing.
Yeah.
That's moving. That is. You've got to watch. You've got to read Mouse.
It's really something. And it really, especially now,
now they're trying to ban it.
The way the world is. Yeah. The way the world is right now. Go read it. It's pretty.
Yeah. Certainly the last third of it where it gets into the nitty gritty and you just go, I know we covered World War II during school and they did do this, but to see it from a sort of a first-hand perspective or second-hand telling of it. Oh yeah, it's horrific, it really is, and it's one of the greatest graphic novels of all time, and he won a Pulitzer for it, as far as I know.
Did he?
Yeah. I think it's the only graphic novel to ever win a Pulitzer.
It's pretty great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get your hands on a copy. It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, it looks like the party has turned mild. I'll grab my coat because we're going to an ad break. G'day, listeners. Aaron here. While you're topping up your coffees, did you know that you can support our show and go on a fantastically scary adventure at the same time? Go to www.thetonistonTales.com/bookstore to grab your copy of The Toniston Tales, a darkly funny Aussie trilogy about a young boy who rescues injured animals in his spare time and the roller coaster ride he's taken on by a literal fish out of water. Written by me, the village idiot of Thrash and Treasure, you'll come to love Toniston Turnbull and the dozens of wacky characters that he meets along the way. And here is a sneak peek. After barely 3 hours of light sleep, Toniston Turnbull slowly opens his eyes, his body feeling heavier than it ever has before. Not from extra weight, from tiredness and stress. Polly sighs in the shadows behind him, the flame of the nearest barbed wire tiki torch tower having died down, but not out, while Toniston napped. "Are you awake?" Toniston whispers. "Oh, how can I sleep in this place?" Polly moans, turning onto her side and facing Toniston, who stays on his back, imagining obscure animal-esque shapes in the rusted tin roof above them, shadows faintly formed by the nearest dying torches. "We need to work out a way to get out of here," Toniston states the obvious. He whispers, despite the fact the nearest shacks to their own are several meters away, and the occupants presumably asleep, as most prisoners seem to be. "How? There's no fence to squeeze through, or even climb," Polly replies, sitting up in bed and then stretching out her sore arms. The hairs stand on end from the slight chill in the air. "I don't know, but I think the whole fighting thing is a distraction." "You mean to distract the other prisoners when new ones arrive?" "No, I think that was just bad timing. Didn't you notice?" Toniston goes on to explain his theory. "That fight happened, everybody gathered around. I didn't see one person who wasn't watching, and then when I vomited, the only gate in this place closed shut." "What are you trying to say?" "I think something happened when everyone's back was turned." "Like what?" whispers Polly, her voice breaking up in fear. "I don't know. That's what we've got to find out." Toniston's brain starts working overtime, but it's strange that nobody seems to want to leave. They seem almost happy. Definitely content. So, when's the next one of those stupid beatdowns? Toniston can't help but think Polly looks tough, almost evil in the shadows as she asks. "I don't know," Toniston begins. But both teenagers are distracted by a crumbling noise in the distance. Hopping out of bed, Toniston joins Polly on her own, equally uncomfortable one, spotting a large, white package hovering close to the cave ceiling, behind it a shadowy figure. The package is lowered down, causing the teenagers themselves to lower as well, hoping not to be spotted by whom or what may be operating this obscure crane. Over a long, slow descent, the package is dropped to the ground. Polly keeps her eyes on it, but Toniston looks up immediately, spotting a large black shadow scurry away to God only knows where. "Come," he whispers, as he quietly hops off her bed, slipping into his docks with bare feet. Polly follows his lead. Careful to keep watch on all directions, the teenagers swiftly sneak over to the white package, their hearts beating an almost tribal jam in perfect harmony, and stopping in their tracks as the sudden realization of what lies before them sinks in. A woman, seemingly in her early 20s, wrapped up in bandages from the neck down. No, not bandages. "Is that spider web?" Polly asks, completely mortified at the prospect. Grab your copy of The Toniston Tales from thetonistonTales.com/bookstore today. Hooroo! Anyways, we're back with Thrash and Treasure. I'm Aaron, that's Evan, and we are joined by the one and only Julia Murney.
Heya!
such an honor to have you on this show. Now, firstly, I've got a few questions just about your hopes and dreams for the future. I know we're running out of time.
Oh, Lord. Okay.
Okay, so firstly, what's one show that's always evaded you? Scheduling hasn't worked out, or you may have gone out for, but Patty Lippa got it or something.
Well, back in the day, I would say it was Les Mis.
Yeah.
It was Fantine and Les Mis.
Yeah.
For which I'm too old now.
That's nonsense.
The one that I've gone up for a couple times, would still have yet to do, but I would like to do very much, is Mrs. Lovett and Sweeney Todd.
Yeah. Oh, I meant to preface these questions by saying, and not Sweeney Todd.
Why not Sweeney Todd?
Because everyone says that.
Well,
and I'm a shithead.
You know what? High quality is high quality. You can't fight it.
That's all right. I didn't say it, so you got it in. It has to count. Now, would you ever do a sitcom?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. 100%.
We've established on this show the throwaway nature of standing ovations. Now, what's one time you've truly felt that had my name on it, or that had our name on it that night, that you just felt that energy was ripe coming from that audience?
It would be I did several of these one night concerts for that were benefit fundraisers for the Actors Fund.
Yep, like Hair.
And
yep.
Hair, Chess, and
Lovely.
Funny Girl.
Yep.
And those were the nights. They were only one night. I mean, it was that was but they're very you are flying by the seat of your pants. They are big productions that are all put together just for this one night, with a massive orchestra and often a choir. And I mean, it's madness. And so the satisfaction that is felt after something like that gets pulled off, and that the audience you don't feel like they're standing because I paid X amount of money, so standing is part of what I'm going to do. So I feel like I got my money's worth. Those concerts did not feel that way. Those concerts felt like people just going, and that was exciting.
Yeah. What's a child's part that you would love to play now as an adult?
Helen Keller in A Miracle Worker. The Miracle Worker, rather. Not A Miracle Worker, The Miracle Worker. Yeah.
You could really sink your teeth into that part. Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah. Now, what's your favorite Mondegreen? Now, that's a misheard lyric. Now, funnily enough, this was a question on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire today.
Oh, gosh. I really have no idea. I don't know. I'm coming up blank, which is not fair because I'm quite sure that I have some.
Yeah. Well, I'll help you along. Mine is I've got 2 ticks and a parasite.
That's definitely not it.
No. Okay.
2 tickets to paradise.
Yes. That's
and who recorded that song? Who recorded that song, Aaron? Come on.
Oh, they did Keeping Up with Business or something and Working Overtime. They were on The Simpsons, and he's like, do that song. I don't know. I have no idea.
Eddie Money.
Okay. Oh, I had no idea. Sorry.
I've got 2 tickets to paradise. Won't you pack your bags? We'll leave tonight. That's it.
And here's me. I was going to say Meatloaf, but that's I Can See Paradise by the Dashboard Light.
Paradise by Dashboard Light. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's Eddie Money.
Terman Bachman Overdrive.
Bachman.
I don't know.
I have no idea. I just pulled that name out of my ass.
Okay.
I don't know.
I don't have a what's it called? The Mondegreen? I don't have one. I know I have them, but I can't think of one. I'm drawing a blank.
That's all right. I may have to send that one to people if I'm going to ask that one again. Send that one early. Now, Mary Tester and I want to rid the world of the term character actor. Are you with us? Because it's quite frankly a redundant term, and you're all actors.
I agree. I mean, I think the world in humanity in general enjoys categories in which to put people and things, because everything is so scattered and no one can keep track. But I think the problem with character actor is that it should be a badge of honor and or a compliment, but can just as often be used as some sort of a slight in a way.
Yeah.
Or it can be perceived as a slight. And that's the unfortunate part of that term. And I think, I mean, for me, I would just be happy to continue to make a living as a person who is called an actor, whatever that means, whether that means physically on stage or on film or in a voice on a cartoon, whatever, or doing a commercial. Like it's doing a concert. There are so many ways that things can fall into that category. If I'm still working and people want to call me a character actor, rock on. I don't care. Just pay me.
Yeah.
If the check is not going to bounce, you can call me a character actor.
Yep.
I'll be okay with it.
Yeah, I think it's a redundant term, and the way Mary put it sort of broke my heart a little bit, because she goes, it just means you're not pretty. I don't want to say, Mary, you're fucking gorgeous. What are you talking about?
Mary is gorgeous.
She is gorgeous. It's,
as my friends and I like to say, Mary Testa is the best.
oh, amen.
I did a show with Mary called Queen of the Mist,
Yep.
which was her show, and she was the leading lady, and it was written by Michael John LaChiusa of Wild Party fame. And she was beyond extraordinary in it. And because she hasn't been given a lot of opportunity to be the leading lady, the second banana often is called the character actor, and so I feel like someone in her position who has had that moniker put on her is 100% allowed and valid in having that kind of a reaction to it.
Yeah, amen. I mean, you're all in your positions because you were stars or are stars. There's no two ways about that. And everyone's pretty, full stop. Like,
I know.
People don't become famous, apparently.
It's a hot mess.
It is, isn't it? Anyway, sorry, it gets me worked up. What is your individual pet peeve within the industry? And nothing cliche, no racism, sexism, all that stuff that we all fight about anyways. What's your pet peeve?
My pet peeve is entitlement. When the youngins come up and somehow seem to take a position of, I deserve to be here. You do, correct? Yes, you do. Also, look around and know how to make sure your workplace remains a happy place. And sometimes that means putting your ego aside so someone else can fly.
Yeah.
And
Amen.
that takes a certain amount of maturity that is not always achieved. And so I definitely get a bee in my bonnet when I feel like I'm working with people who don't appreciate where they are, what they get to do, and who they're with. Unless you are standing alone on a stage in no light, singing a song without any accompaniment or just speaking words, then you're never doing a solo. You are never, ever doing a solo. At the least, if you're singing a song and someone's playing piano, it's already a duet. If there is a person up in the rafters putting a spotlight on you, it's a trio, and on and on and on and on. And so as soon as you start to trick yourself into thinking this is about me, is when you're lying to yourself. Yeah. And that makes me crazy. What's fun about it is getting to do it with other people. Yeah. That's why it's fun. Yeah.
That's it. It is a team effort. And I was actually surprised when a few New Yorkers have said that you guys don't do group warm-ups over there.
No, that is not a thing. That is a European thing.
And here it's like that's our pre-show time together to be a team, to harmonize together and stuff. And when I was like, what? Why? What?
Nah. Not a thing.
One last question. What's one thing you've always dreamed of doing but have never built up the courage to do besides talk to Toni Collette?
Indeed. Scuba diving.
Scuba diving, yeah.
Yeah. I snorkel. I love to snorkel. I get a little worried about the breathing apparatus of scuba, so I have never delved into that. Yeah. I've gone skydiving. I would never bungee. Yeah. Let's be clear.
Yeah.
Never. Okay.
Yeah, it separates the spine.
But scuba, because I do love the ocean, and when I went snorkeling up in Port Douglas on the Great Barrier
Oh,
Reef.
wow. Yeah.
I remember very clearly putting my face in the water and going, oh, because it was like a Technicolor wonderland.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I ever thought, oh, I wish I could get down there and stay down there. But yeah, it just hasn't happened. So
Yeah, you'll get there one day. Anyway, so thank you so much for joining us.
oh, my pleasure. Thank you for having me. Yes, baby. I don't. My dog is going to have to be taken out in about 3 minutes because she's giving me the eye.
Would you please give her a little cuddle for me, or a big cuddle?
I will.
And I'll-
Yes. You want to go out? I know. Okay. It's good. She's looking at me like, come on, lady.
Yeah, thank you so much for sitting down with us and giving us your valuable time.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's totally my pleasure. Absolutely. And thank you for asking me.
Yeah, no, it's an absolute pleasure. And I hope we were fittingly torturous enough.
You absolutely were. But Aaron,
Yes.
you go watch that video.
Yes, I
You
will.
go watch
I know.
for
Every week I say, watch the videos, and he doesn't.
for the love of Tawny Katane.
Yes, I will.
In honor. God bless.
Mm.
Long live Tawny Katane.
Yeah, the original music
original-
video rock girl. Yeah.
Video vixen. Yep.
Alrighty, that's it from us. A huge thank you to Lady Julia Murney for joining us. I absolutely loved that reaction when I held up the DVD and then Evan pulls out his quote, and yes, that was a brilliant moment. And you can find her on the social medias on Twitter at Julia Murney, that's Murney, or on Instagram at Peppermama, which is PEPAMAMA, or on juliamurney.com. And also check out her solo album, I'm Not Waiting, which I obviously name dropped in the introduction. You can find us on the social medias at Thrush and Treasure, which is Twitter, at Thrush and Treasure Podcast, as well as comment, like, subscribe, buy the Toniston Tales, read the Toniston Tales, tell your friends about the Toniston Tales and our show, comment, rate, subscribe, whatever all that jazz is. I don't know. I'm going to sit down and listen to the silence for a little bit, because in the next couple of weeks we've got more recordings, which means more metal and heavy metal and new metal, glam metal, all that jazz. So anyways, you take care and we shall see you next time. Okay, so after the recording, I sat down and Evan was there. The Zoom was still going, and I watched the video, so Evan can verify that. And all I can say is that there are many photos of me as a child, a young little 4-5-year-old boy, maybe younger, maybe a little bit older, where it would show that Tawny was also the type of woman that I wanted to be. So I totally get it. I totally get it. She is pretty bloody cool.